Hello, this is just okay, let me start by saying this is like a series of videos, not a series of recap videos. The series is not recap videos. You'll notice it says like 1 dot September recap or something like that probably. But that's not what the series is. The series is just me talking about anything. But the first one just happens to be September recap because we're now on the 13th of October, so I better get that one out of the way first because I had that one planned. But I'm just going to do random videos where I just talk about anything. Mostly film stuff probably, but music too, just stuff. I'm just going to talk about stuff. So I've got my notes on my screen, all set up good. This is my September recap of films and shows that I've been watching, and I'm going to start off with all the films that I've been watching this last month, September. So September, I watched Everything Everywhere All at Once. Oh yeah, also I've got a side note. These reviews, they're just like little 2-minute things, 1-minute things, even less than that sometimes. I don't know. I'm just gonna it's just blindly just talking about anything. It's no like crazy editing or like in-depth reviews. It's just me like general thoughts sort of thing. So Everything Everywhere All at Once. Okay, I know everyone this was a very big sort of hit. People think this is like the best one of the year and all that. I don't know. I didn't really get it. It was like people say the humor and stuff was really good. I didn't think it was anything crazy. It was just like kind of, I don't know, to me it kind of just came across like, yeah, cool, quirky, like different, I don't know, something that I think has been done way better before. The kind of humor style anyway, not the type of film. This is probably the best film I've seen in terms of multiverses and all that sort of thing. But in terms of like the comedy, I would say that the Edgar Wright sort of connected trilogy stuff is a lot better with what it's trying to do, or like just random humor stuff is good sometimes, but this to me was not the right way of doing it. It just was like, I didn't laugh. I don't know why. I'm not gonna break down like what comedy, like I can't really defend it. It's just something I just don't really like that much. I don't know. I didn't like the humor of it. And I think people really praise this film for its representation. And I don't know about the background of this sort of like I think it's Chinese family sort of culture and things like that. I don't really know much about it, but it felt authentic. I don't know, I haven't experienced it, so I can't say it's authentic. But it feels real and everything. It felt like good representation as far as I could, as far as my perspective could understand it to be. So yeah, I respect that, but just not really my cup of tea, and also not really into superhero stuff that much. But this was this had a lot more heart than a lot of modern superhero things I have seen. In its defense, this probably would be a better version of something like Doctor Strange. I haven't seen Doctor Strange, but I can see that this might be the better version of that sort of concept. I don't know. I haven't seen it, but. Yeah, just not really, didn't really hit the notes for me, this film, so giving it a 6 out of 10. The next film I watched, Scum by Alan Clark. I watched Alan Clark, I watched, what's this called, Made in Britain, and to me, Made in Britain was way better than Scum, but Scum is what we're talking about. Scum was good. I don't think there's really much to say about it. It didn't do anything bad, I just feel like for what it was trying to be, it did it well. It was that Alan Clark style of shooting is so good for his subject matter. Like, it really captures a real sort of vibe so well, a real British vibe so well, while still being sort of slightly cinematic. It's such a good balance, and the tone and the pace of it was really good. Just all round told the story it was trying to tell about, which by the way, if you didn't know, I didn't really introduce it, but it's all about young people in what they're called, like the correctional facility, behaviour correctional facility sort of thing. But to me, Made in Britain it's a bit different, the type of film it is, but the concept's kind of similar. Like, it's a very similar film in general, but Made in Britain is so much better. It's so cool. Wow, that one is so much better than this. But yeah, this is good. This is good too. Bit more like grander, I guess, in scale. It feels like maybe. But I prefer Made in Britain because I feel like it really delved into like one character's mind a bit more focused on on the psychology. But Scum was still good, so I'm giving it a 7 out of 10. V for Vendetta. Shit, I didn't like it. Everything about it was bad to me. I don't understand. This is something that was recommended by my friend, said it was one of his favourite films. I don't know why, because to me, what was good about it? Like, the music, no. The directing style, no. It was just like very generic-y like stuff. The acting was fine. The just overall look of it was fine. The pace of it was boring. The characters were boring. It was just like boring or fine. And the amount of fine stuff overall just contributes it to all be boring, because a lot of fine things are just eventually like boring, aren't they? So didn't like this film. And another thing, why is this film like so adult and so childlike at the same time? It's so weird. It's like it's trying to teach me it's like a very simple lesson. The message behind it is so simple, yet it tells it like a kid's film, but then it's also so violent. So I just feel like an adult watching this adult superhero film, but being treated like a fucking idiot the whole time. It's just stupid and ridiculous and tonally off. Like, there's no real, none of these like elements just like harmonise together at all. It was just all fine, boring, and off. So I'm giving this a 3. It's a bad film in my opinion. Sorry, Liam. I know like this one, but I can't. I didn't like it. So that was 3 out of 10. Hustle was really good. I am surprised by that, because most people would say the first red flag on this film is Adam Sandler, who has proved again and again to be, he has talent, but he doesn't choose to utilise it very often. And this one, he did utilise it. He was good in it. It wasn't like Uncut Gems, where he was doing a particularly different character to himself. It was a bit more similar to his character in Grown Ups and all those sort of films, but a lot more. The situation that he was placed in was allowed for a lot more emotional range and things like that. And yeah, his chemistry of the main guy and stuff, the writing and the humour and everything, all landed perfectly. The subject matter, I don't know anything about basketball. I'm not a sports guy. I was thoroughly interested in all the dynamics of everything. So, considering I fucking have no clue about basketball, don't give a fuck. Very entertaining for that. Considering I'm not interested in it, I was very interested in the film. Really enjoyed the story and the directions it went and things like that. Very good, very entertaining. The way it's shot works perfectly. It all kind of harmonises so nicely. I'm using that. I've realised I've said that harmonise thing twice now, but I think it's very important. It's a very important part of it is whether you get one element right and the other, you can have two things that are done really well, but if it doesn't match, then it's bullshit, isn't it? So yeah, that's very important to me, and this film got that right. It got all the comedy and all the shooting, like the cinematography style, directing style, the writing and the overall narrative and the acting, everything about it just like all perfectly put together to create a solid 8 out of 10 film, in my opinion. Good film. This is Spinal Tap was one of those films that I liked it when I watched it, but then I liked it more when I thought about it. And to me, that's, the best comedies are like that usually, aren't they? The not so laughy out loud ones, but more the ones that just sit with you and you just think they're funny. And this is one of those. It's very good it's a very good mockumentary. I think this is the type of mockumentary that I like best. This sort of balance of the balance of realism and comedy was perfect. It wasn't so realistic where you just feel, okay, well, this is boring, but it was just funny enough. But just that realism kept it more funny because it was grounded, and very perfect style and tone of comedy. Great acting. And it really captured, and that whole joke about them being like one-hit wonders and stuff. Well, not one-hit wonders. What am I trying to say? Like industry plants sort of thing. Yeah, that was hilarious. I just thought that was, but they never say it out loud. They just kind of imply it. A lot of these jokes were just kind of implied or let you just kind of interpret it, and that's what made it so great for me. It kept you more engaged, because for such a slow film, having to engage with those jokes was definitely an important factor to my enjoyment of it. So yeah, I really like that one. Really funny. 7 out of 10. It could even go up to an 8, to be honest, because the more I think about it, the more I kind of like, yeah, that was good. The next film, is it Capote or Capote? Or Capote? I don't know, but the Philip Seymour Hoffman thing from 2007 or some shit. You know, I don't... The story was okay. The filmmaking overall was okay. Everything about it was pretty okay. The music was good, but really annoying. Overusing the same like 2-3 tracks, and even those 3 tracks, they felt like variations of the same track. I mean, I don't know. Don't quote me on that. I haven't seen this film in over a month now, but felt like it was repeating itself a lot with the music, or just felt very like similar, and a bit annoying. And the whole film was a bit similar and a bit annoying at times. But the only thing that really kept it going for me was Philip Seymour Hoffman, because he's such a great actor. He really kills that role, like so well. He's such a eye catcher in every scene. You know, he was so good. So for me, that was what made it so good, and that was why I gave it a 7 and not something like a 5 or a 6. Because Philip Seymour Hoffman just really amped that whole thing up. Great, what a great actor. Rest in peace. Next up is Blade. Shit, again, another one of those V for Vendetta type things to be. You know, I think a lot of the hype around these things is that, I don't know, I'm not trying to judge the people who watch these things, but it kind of sounds a bit more like, oh yeah, I like it because it captures that time of the 90s, the 2000s, etc. And, you know, while I still kind of get that, you know, I get that sort of thing with Spider-Man, the Sam Raimi Spider-Mans, for example. But the difference between Sam Raimi Spider-Mans and Blade is that the Sam Raimi Spider-Mans are still good now. They still have enough content in there where I can just enjoy it. Like, it could come out now. It would have to be done up a little bit. It still feels 2000s. You could update it a little bit and things, but you know, it could still come out now. And it still has that charming 2000s style. Whereas something like Blade and even V for Vendetta and stuff like that, I know Blade is 90s, but it's just a lot of like time capsule style, like, oh cool, it's like, it feels like the 90s, all action and all that. Like, yeah, I don't give a fuck. It's not got enough. It needs something else to grab me before that can be cool to me. The Sam Raimi Spider-Man's to me a perfect example. Like, you know, that grabs me, and also it has that 2000s-y charm. Blade doesn't grab me and has a 90s charm, but I don't care because I'm not interested in anything else, and so I just want to fall asleep the whole way through. So 3 out of 10 for Blade. Next up, Baahubali 2, The Conclusion, the sequel to Baahubali, which obviously I've never talked about because it's the first time I'm doing one of these things, so this doesn't really make... it's quite weird to do that one first, but whatever. Baahubali 2, you know... it's kind of bad. Like, Baahubali's kind of bad too. You know, it has lots of like sort of cheap looking scenes, some impressive looking scenes, but a lot of cheap sort of like dubbing and stuff like that. And you know, it's overall quite corny and everything, but I just love the Bollywood style so much. I think it's you know, for what it's trying to do, like it's better than the way that Hollywood would approach Baahubali to me, because they would try and make it ridiculous but grounded, but Bollywood does not give a fuck. I know it's actually technically not Bollywood, I do realise that, but you know what I'm trying to say. The cultural kind of area of that film just doesn't give a fuck, and I like that about it. And it will just go all out with its amazing music and everything. And this did the same thing, I think. It was just like really good like music and overall style and tone. But the story was so confusing. I didn't even know that that guy was the Baahubali's son until way after, because they did not make it very clear at all. It was so confusing. Why would you pick the same actor to play the same guy, son, and then have the mum just look exactly the same but with slightly greyer hair, and you can't even tell? Like, I didn't know that it was 50 years later or anything. And the way that it cut back between the past and future, I think that's what it was doing anyway. Didn't really understand what was going on, but I enjoyed it because of that overall just fun, the nature of those sort of films. Baahubali is definitely the better one though, because to me that one has a more concrete narrative with all those elements, whereas this one was just a bit of like a cheap, why is this really happening? This doesn't need a sequel plot-wise, and this plot overall is just confusing. But I still like it because it's like Baahubali and I enjoy it. So 7 out of 10 for this one, but Baahubali 1 for reference is an 8 out of 10 for me. And then finally, the other film I watched, I'm not sure when I watched this because I re-rated it, so I don't know when it, I don't know, it doesn't matter, the order doesn't matter. This is the best film out of all these films by far.
It is Vortex by Gaspar Noé, who is one of my favourite filmmakers of all time. I think it's Noah, or Noah, I think. One of my favourite filmmakers of all time. And Vortex was so fucking good. Like, it was so slow, you know, it requires a lot of patience, 100%. And, you know, my first thought process drawing it, I was like, you know, no matter how good this gets, could anything really justify this runtime of just nothing happening? And for a while I didn't think it did, and by the time it ended I was like, that ending was great, but could you have shortened it by 20 minutes? And yeah, you probably could have, you know. The film's 2 hours 20, I think it could have been 2 hours. It definitely does need a slow pace, but maybe not quite that slow. But regardless, that last half an hour is so brilliant, so impactful. Like, the emotions it evokes from me, I've never felt in a film before. I felt in real life, you know, in the process of griefs that I've had, like, not like, you know, like grandparents and things like that. Like, that feeling you get when you're like, wow, things are just moving on and stuff. I can't even explain it, but it's something you feel, and then you just move on. You forget you ever had that feeling, and I forgot I ever had that feeling. And then I watched this, and then it all came back, that sort of emotion of like, oh my god, and I was so uncomfortable. And wow, like, it just sat with me forever. It's still sitting with me, that ending, just that last half an hour. And yeah, you know what, the runtime, it probably did deserve it. I think it earned it overall, actually. I would still shave off 20 minutes, but, you know, wow, like, such a great ending. A very unique way of delivering that story. Very mature, and a lot more, like, simple than a lot of Gaspar Noé's other films. But great stuff, so good. 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10. I love this film. It's so great. If you want to have an emotion that you've never felt in a film before, or see something that you've never seen anything like before, this is a go-to. Like, just great fucking film. So good. So makes you so uncomfortable for really no reason when you think about what actually is going on. But it's just so well delivered that it's just fucking brilliantly done. So 10 out of 10. Yeah, so good. Cannot recommend that enough. Well, I can if you get bored in like films that are quite slow, then don't watch it. You have to have the patience to watch it. But if you have patience, or you want to try, you should do it because it's so good. Moving on to shows I watched in September, or started watching. If I started watching them, I'm just going to say what I think so far, and I'll probably do a finished review of them next month, whatever. So, a show I finished is Smiling Friends, and yeah, Smiling Friends is really good. It's really good. It's just, it really fills that void that I had for a show like, you know, when Rick and Morty was good, or when SpongeBob was on, or anything like that. I just didn't have a show like that for a long time, and this is really perfectly slotted into that hole I had in my viewing thing. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but like, there was just a big hole in my viewing, in what I was watching, that wasn't being filled, you know. And now Spinal Friends goes in there, and it fits perfectly with all those nice light cartoon comedies, nice, good quality, you know, something a bit original, Adult Swim show. Yeah, kind of like an Adult SpongeBob was what kind of came to my mind. A bit more of like a mature Adult Swim SpongeBob. And it's great. It's a good show. 8 out of 10. You know, it's really fun, and I'm looking forward to seeing more of it. House of the Dragon. I am 4 episodes in. I'm a bit behind. I started a bit later so that I wouldn't have to wait a week for each one. So I'm just kind of going through them a bit faster as it comes to a close now. I think it's nearly ended actually. I'll catch up more. Yes, House of the Dragon is good, you know. I think it definitely starts off a lot stronger than Game of Thrones did, so that makes me excited. The pace of it is different. It's not the story is not as grand, but the actual plot, it's kind of like one B plot in Game of Thrones. Like, if you just take one plot, like just the Targaryen plot, or just any old, like, you know, if you just focus on Jon Snow and King, what's the called, like Ned Stark and Arya Stark. If you just focus on them, it's kind of like that. If the whole show was just that, but then there's loads of time jumps and things. So the pacing is different, and a nice breath of fresh air. I'm glad it doesn't just feel like Game of Thrones again. It's like Game of Thrones, but just a different kind of way of approaching a story, the storytelling of it. and the overall look of it is a bit different. It reminds me a lot of, you know how Game of Thrones is Skyrim, like Skyrim's Game of Thrones sort of based. It's weird because House of the Dragon reminds me of Oblivion, the vibe of it, and it works perfectly because it's the same sort of time difference. So that's cool. But yeah, I'm really enjoying House of the Dragon. I'm really excited to see where it goes. Definitely slower than Game of Thrones, but so far it hasn't been too slow. So far it's been slow and keeping me interested. It's very, very nice pace, and yeah, I'm excited to see where it goes. So I'm giving that an 8 out of 10 so far. It could be a 7 if it goes nowhere. It could be a 9 if it goes somewhere great. It could be a 10 if it really blows me away, but I don't think it's going to be a 10, to be honest. I think it'll probably go up to a 9 now. Or an 8, stay at an 8, I don't know. The other show I'm watching right now is The Office US. This is a rewatch. I've seen The Office US about a little while ago, maybe a year or two ago. I did watch it quite late compared to other people because I watched the UK one and I was a bit of a purist. I was a bit like, I don't know if I want to watch that. But I did, and I did enjoy it. And now I'm rewatching it with my girlfriend because she hadn't seen it. We watched the UK one, now watching the US one. And I like The Office US. Starts off a bit shaky. Has shaky moments throughout, to be honest. Like season 4 was a bit shaky at parts. But overall, it's a fun show. It's definitely one of the higher quality American sitcoms. I'm not really a huge fan of American sitcoms in general, but that one is a higher quality one. Michael Scott is just the best character as well. He's so good, Michael Scott. Like, what an amazing character. I don't even know how you write that like so well and play that so well. Like, that character's so well conceived. I really like The Office US. I do prefer The Office UK as an overall package, but The Office US has a lot going for it in parts. Sometimes not so much. So 8 out of 10 for The Office overall. And right now, if I was watching this now, do I rate it from like what I've watched so far in my rewatch? I'm just gonna say 8 because it's still an 8, I think, anyway. With moments of a 9, moments of a 6, 7 sort of thing. But yeah, 8. And the other show I'm watching right now is Dahmer, which is, you hear about it, okay, and you have like, this is why. So you're me, right? And what you hear is, this new TikTok show about a serial killer. Say TikTok show, I mean like shows that people talk about on TikTok. Okay, to me, that's immediately a red flag because this is going to sound horrible, really pretentious or what have you, but the track record for TikTok shows are not good usually, are they? I mean, the TikTok audience in general. This is going to sound judgmental. I'm not saying it all, but there's definitely a pattern. It makes sense that there's a pattern. The people who will just play on TikTok all the time have a short attention span than people who don't, because you're just like a lot of them. I'm basing this off the TikTokers that my girlfriend watches, because they just seem like the type of people who just kind of lie in their bed and play on their phone, leave something on in the background, and that's fine by me. I'm not saying it's a problem, but to me, the shows they watch are most likely not going to be the shows that I want to watch, because they're going to be wanting to watch something that sits in the background, whereas I'm going to want something that's keeping me engaged at the forefront of my mind. And so to me, hearing about Dahmer being a TikTok show about a serial killer, I was just a bit like, nah, like it probably won't be good for my sort of for what I like. It most likely won't be based on the pattern that I've experienced before or seen before. And then the other red flag for me was Evan Peters, because I'm not really a fan of Evan Peters at all. American Horror Story, I find he's very, very much a hit or miss, leaning more 75% miss, 25% hit, and the hits are kind of like, yeah, he's pretty good, but not really that great. He's just alright or good. He's not a very good actor in most things to me. What else is he in? Kick-Ass. He's fine in that, but he's not a big character, so obviously he's going to be The Office US, ironically. He's fine in that, but whatever, it just does, I never really liked him. I never thought much of him. I sometimes thought he was quite bad, but holy shit, I watched the first episode of Dahmer, and take everything I said back, because it's not a high-paced show. It's not like something you can just play on your, maybe a lot of people do shortly, but you can't just chuck your phone on and be like, yeah, oh, what's going on? Yeah. Nah, it's not that kind of show. It is slow-paced, and
You know, there's a lot of attention to detail in the acting and the performances, and the way the plot unfolds is so nicely, like, I think the pacing of it is perfect. It unravels the story so nicely. Such a great, like, little study on his character, and Evan Peters is so good. Like, I've never seen him this good. I haven't even seen him half this good. Like, he actually kills it in this role. Like, he's so much more mature, and he grounds his performance. I think a lot of my conceptions of him being a bad actor was to do with the American story, like, you know, constantly heightening everything, like constantly making it like oh yeah, it's just like that cliche 80s thing you watched before. And so I guess he was kind of, you know, under that direction, trying to do the same sort of thing, where it was all like, yeah, my performance will be over the top because the show is. But this show is very not over the top. It's very the way it's done is very raw and simple. I love that about it. Very creepy compared to, you know, if American Horror Story directing was doing that story. I would not find that interesting at all, or fun, or I just find it plain shit, to be honest. But you know, you have it all downscaled and grounded. All that way that it's made is so raw and simple. As is Evan Peters' performance. It's so like good. He's so good. I just can't. This show's really good, and I'm only 5 episodes in, I think, or 5 episodes in, and yeah, I'm really loving it. So far, this first half has been a little bit on the one-note side, but that's not bothering me yet. It will bother me if it's like this for all the episodes. You know, if it's always like this for all the episodes, that will get a bit more nervous. But right now, it's perfect. I'm just hoping that in the next few, it picks up and or does a little change in the formula, or does something a bit different. And I think it will. I have faith in this show. I'm really liking the way that they've done things so far. And to everyone who says that this glorifies serial killing, that's so fucking dumb, right? Evan Peters is not like this character Jeffrey Dahmer, whatever. He is not shown to be someone that you want. Like, he's not cool, right? I get the criticism of other shows where like they look cool, or like it's like, yeah, look at me, I'm like a fucking badass doing this, like talking about bodies and shit. It is not like that. It is so raw and grounded, and he does not seem like a person that you'd want to be or be friends with, or like he doesn't look cool or anything. He looks quite unattractive for Evan Peters. I think they got it perfectly, you know. I think they got that balance of very well. You know, they do display him to be quite empathetic and human at parts, but he probably was, you know. You know, even Hitler probably was empathetic and human in parts, you know. I'm sure all these people had their kind of journeys into becoming like how they're known now. I don't think that we need more one-dimensional villains, you know. And I know people say, well, it's a bit disrespectful when it's a real thing, but fuck off, you know. I want to know all the little things that go on in their head, and how all these events make the person who they are, you know what I mean? Like, I would be totally into a show where, you know, it kind of displayed Osama bin Laden's kind of growth as a character to turn into what he eventually obviously did and became. That would be cool. I would watch that. You know, I don't think there's anything wrong with showing a really fucked up person who eventually becomes like a horrible, horrible person that you don't want to really know anything about or have anything to do with. Fine. But there's nothing wrong with them being three-dimensional and showing how they got to where they are. There's nothing wrong with that. So anyone who says like Dahmer's like this and that, I just think they should need to fuck off and like understand that not every bad person is just, yeah, you're a bad person, that's it. That's not it, okay? Good and bad is more complex, and it's not a binary thing. It's fucking just, I'm done with that little rant. That's just like, no. Whatever. Dahmer, 9 out of 10 so far. And it could be a 10. It could be stay at 9. It could go down to an 8. I really don't know. I'm only halfway through, but I'm hoping that it keeps to at least a 9 or a 10. I'm very excited. So yeah, thank you for watching my September recap. You know, if you I don't think anyone's actually watching this, but I'm doing it for myself. I'm doing it because I like to talk about films, and it'd be nice to kind of have like a reason to talk about them, you know, because people probably will get a bit annoyed at me if I said what I just said for half an hour to their face, and they're just like, oh, cool, man, cool. Yeah, like, you know, I don't want to do that to all my friends and drive people apart from me, so I'm just going to do it to a camera, and, you know, posting these sort of videos every few weeks or whatever. There's no schedule. I'm just going to do it whenever. It's for me. It's not for anyone watching. So in the unlikely scenario that you're like, oh, I can't wait for the next one, wow, I don't know when it's going to be.
It might never happen again. It might never happen again. I'm just doing it. So yeah. But on that note, watch the next one, if there is one, which there probably will be. Thank you for watching. If you did, you probably didn't. I'm probably talking to no one right now. That's fine.